Alright guys, today is a video I've been waiting to do for quite a while. This is our 3-month recap on our energy and solar system, how everything's been running, specifically through our building phase. We've been using the system while we've still been building and finishing things off. We're only a couple of weeks away from going to the engineer, so we're at that point where I want to talk about how it's been going, and then the next time we talk about it, it'll be once we've been living in the bus and enjoying the fruits of our labor. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is talk about the system, all of the components, everything that makes up the system that we negotiated and collaborated with Wise Energy to give us what we're working with today. Let's talk about our system. On the roof we have 1,000 watts of solar, 4 250 watt panels, and we've got them arranged in 2 sets of parallel in series. I'll go a little bit more into why we did it that way in particular. Originally I was going to do all 4 separately as parallel, which meant that if one panel gets knocked out by shade, the rest is still charging. But I ended up having my hand forced by the system that we have chosen, simply because it is quite a low amount of solar. So from the solar panels, runs down straight through into our charge controller, which is a 150 volt to 35 amp charger. That is going straight into a single 5 kilowatt hour 48 volt battery. We can go into the weeds here a bit on the details and the mathematics of the solar into the charger into the battery, but essentially because of the voltage and the amperage on the solar panels, to be able to charge the battery, which is 48 volts from the solar panels have to reach above 48 volts to actually get charge into the battery. Otherwise, the battery won't accept the charge. And when you join solar panels together, depending on whether you do it series or parallel, you're either adding up extra voltage. So if you have 2 15 volt solar panels and you put them together, I believe in series, it adds up the voltage. If you do it in parallel, the voltage stays the same, but the amperage goes up. And so we had to do the solar panels the way that I've done them, 2 sets of parallel in series, so that we could get the mathematical equation that allowed the voltage to just go just above 48. I think we're sitting at like 53, and the amperage only doubled. So I think it went to 16. So we're sitting at like 52 volts, so well in range, and then we're sitting at 16 amps. And that's why we decided to do things the way that they're being done. So from here, goes to the battery. The battery then sends to the multi-plus inverter. So it does go to a shunt first, but I'll get to the shunt later. But it goes to the inverter. That's a 5,000 watt Victron inverter. It is the multi-plus 2. And we are absolutely stoked that we picked this unit up. A really good reason is it accepts a generator or the mains. That has been set up by Wise Energy for us. We were originally going to go a converter from the bus so that when we turn the bus on, we could charge our system. But running a massive diesel engine doesn't make sense when you can get yourself a little 2,000 watt generator that uses $1 worth of petrol every, time you want to charge your system. That just makes economically way more sense, and it allows us to not run a generator as well. Like we're parked just away from a power point right here, and we can charge straight off the mains. Another really awesome thing about this inverter is that when you do add the wattage that comes through from the mains or from a generator, it doesn't just charge the system, it adds the extra wattage on top. So we've got 5,000 watts, which depending on temperature and a bunch of other factors, ends up being around 3,500 watts useful to be drawing at one time. I'm not exactly certain on how that works, but like this 5,000 number doesn't necessarily represent exactly what you'll be able to draw out. But when you add the 1,800 watts that we pull from a power point, that number goes to 6,800, which effectively gives us another 1,400 watts on top to use. We're not going to use anywhere near that much, but say we had a very busy day, or we're putting a party on and we've got a bunch of appliances running, we could plug into the mains and have much more space to move. And that was a big selling point on why we decided to go with this system, because it allows us to reach beyond the boundaries of just that ceiling.
All right, so after the multi-plus inverter, we go straight to the 12-volt drop-down. So originally we had wired the bus to be 24 volt, and the reason for that is the distances traveled. Cars are 12 volt because they're quite small. Buses are massive, so they typically are 24 volt. The bus itself is wired for 24, but Craig convinced us to go to 12 because we were right in the center of the bus. We only have to travel a car's distance back and forward. Also, our pump is 12 volt, and our hot water system is 12 volt. So we decided to not complicate things. The system, the battery is 48 volt. The inverter is 48 volt, and there are really good reasons to go 48 volt. But the lighting and the pump are 12 because it's cheaper, it's easier. I can manage it without having an electrician come in. So the 12 volt runs into one of the breakers over here. We've got separate breakers for the 240 and the 12 volt. And then from the breaker, it runs up into the bus and to the different areas that we need it. So moving on from the 12 volt, the inverter is also running through the Servo GX, which is a communication device that allows us to monitor the condition of the battery, how much input's coming in and out, and that is talking as well to the shunt, which is over here, which is I believe the brain. I'm not too sure how this works. All I know is that this unit here allows us to, anywhere in the world, connect to our bus and find out the condition of the battery, what voltage the battery is sitting at, how much wattage the solar panels are drawing in, how much wattage we're getting from the grid. It gives us every little bit of information that we would ever want. It's life-changing. We weren't going to have this system, once again. I believe we were opting to not add it because it was going to be an extra cost and we wanted to save money, and Craig ended up just throwing it in anyway because he knew the value of it. He's lived on the road, he's had a bus, he knew exactly how valuable this would be to us, and he was right. We look at it every single day, every moment. Moving on from that, we've got the entire breaker system. This was so handy because this backplating had everything installed on it, and the electrician at Wise Energy installed the breakers. So everything up until this point, up until the breakers, is approved and signed off by an electrician. So if you're not aware at all what these are, you'll find them in your electrical box in your home, out the front, wherever. When your power goes out, you're hitting one of these switches. These are snapping off and cutting off power to your home. It's to protect from surges, any abnormal, anything abnormal that's happening with your electrical current that shouldn't be happening. But essentially, it has a ceiling on it, and normal amounts of energy traveling through it should travel below that ceiling. And when you get a surge or a short, like if something happens in the house and a live wire hits the bus frame and it detects abnormal surge in energy, it will bust past that ceiling, and then this breaker will snap off and it will cut power to everything. And that's just smart safety. So we've got breakers for the solar panels, we've got a breaker for the ones that we're using, and we've got a breaker for the future when we want to add more solar panels, and we will when we're staying put. And there'll be an array that we put out on the grass. We've got our AC, which is the 240 volt, which is your household power. And then we've got the DC section, which is our pump, our lighting. On top of that, one of the AC breakers is running down to this plug here, which we are currently using to power everything in the bus. So we were able to charge tools, watch TV, use the bus and live in it. We've got an extension cable running into the bus, and we've got power boards all throughout so that we can use the bus like a normal home until we hire the electrician to install them permanently. And very last, we've got this inlet here, which is to charge from the mains or from a generator. So this is a 15 amp plug, but because we have this Servo GX
communicating with the battery and with the inverter, we've actually been able to downgrade that to 10. So I do have a 15 amp plug here. So we are only pulling in a household plug's amount of energy when we are charging, which is more than enough. Our systems and battery size isn't that big. It fully charges in half an hour, 40 minutes. All right, so next I want to talk to you about where we go from here as far as upgrading. And I'll talk about how the system is in its state right now. So right now we have space for 3 batteries. So we have space for 1500 kilowatt hours, but we only have the 1 battery. That is simply because we didn't have the budget to dedicate to more than that, and we are going to always add more batteries later. So there's always potential to upgrade in that direction, which obviously gives us more battery storage. That's pretty exponential. We can triple the hours of battery life that we have. The other option is to upgrade the solar. So on the roof I have 1000 watts, 4 panels of solar, and they're a standard house size panel. I've been talking to Craig about options as far as what we can do to upgrade. We do have the 2 solar lines, as I said before, in the breaker. So we have the option of spending some money and getting some, or looking for second-hand panels, getting some higher wattage panels for the space that they take up. So these are only 250 watts, but we could potentially get some 450 watt panels that take up the same amount of space on the roof. What I would do in that case is take these panels off the roof and put them onto a frame to be set up as a secondary solar. So if we ever get a block of land and park up, those panels will be on a mount facing the direction of the sun, which is really handy in like winter. Because the sun is so low in the sky, you want to be able to angle your solar panels towards it to maximize the input. And then that also allows us to upgrade our solar to 1800 watts on the roof using the exact same amount of space. As far as which upgrade is more likely, the solar panels is more likely. It's more likely that if we really need to, we'll upgrade the solar panels to 450 watts, replace all the ones on the roof, put the ones we have into storage for the day that we decide to park up permanently, and we, are maybe too shaded and we need that external solar coming in. So how has the system been going for us as it is right now? Absolutely fantastic. It's so good to just have to not worry about electricity, to not have an overcomplicated system that I've built myself underneath the floor, using like rigged together batteries, which is kind of what I was planning on doing when we had budgeted originally for it, and we were going to be going with as cheap a system as I could manage to run with. So it's just been pure luxury for us. The amount of power that we have itself will last us 3 days of using laptops, watching television at night, using the things that we need to, and like we probably in the evening will go through between dusk and dawn we'll go through maybe 20 to 25% of the battery, depending on how late I'm staying up, which is I'm the one staying up late, let's be honest. Charging the batteries off 1000 watts of solar has been a bit more challenging. When we were at our last property, we were only getting 4 hours of sunlight. The trees were sitting in the exact spot where it just was not playing ball with us. So we were only getting somewhere between 400 and 600 watts coming in as well, because we were tilted towards the south and not the north, which is, as time went on, further and like the sun drifted further and further in that direction. So we found ourselves needing to charge the system off mains once every 3 or 4 days. In the meantime though, we were collecting solar at a roughly around maybe 4/5 of our consumption. And then it would take a single day of overcast to kind of just be like the nail in the coffin to have to charge. So in other words, if we did get 3 or 4 days of like really nice sun, even with those 4 hours, we were able to maintain charge. Where we are right now, it is no problem at all. If we get a full day of sun, we'll charge to 100%. We've even had the batteries absorb and get to float which is something that we are actually required to do every week, which is another reason why I'm so glad we are able to hook up to mains. And that's a matter of keeping the battery life as healthy as possible. So just for some context on floating the battery, when your battery, lithium battery, hits 100%, it's actually not at 100%. It does have the maximum amount of charge, but generally the voltage has not reached the maximum level. So once we charge the batteries to 100%, you need to maintain a maximum charge amount and a power going into the batteries for another hour or two, and that allows the voltage to get to the absolute maximum, which will prolong your battery life. And like, it's the difference between 5 years. If you were to just keep continually running the battery up and down and only hitting 100% and never getting it to full charge, you're asking to buy a new battery in a short period of time. Having full access to daylight is crazy as. Having said that, we are moving closer into winter, and our solar panels are flat on the roof, and we are noticing the sun is dipping further in towards the horizon, which means we're getting a less efficient solar. We're seeing it peak at like 750 watts, which is fantastic, and we can charge the batteries in a very short amount of time with that. But it does make it a bit difficult if the middle of the day becomes a bit overcast. So we've been here about 3 weeks, and because we have full sunlight, we've only had to plug into the mains twice, and one of those was just to float the batteries. So when we have 100% sunlight, like, we are absolutely cruising, we're happy. As far as how we've been living lately, we are absolutely stoked with how this system is running, and as I've explained, it's been no problem to navigate the fact that we have taken some shortcuts on the solar and the capacity of the batteries. However, we are getting to the point where we're starting to finish the build and more things are going in. So we have a water pump, we have a coffee machine, we have a dishwasher, we have the lighting. We are using a lot of computer energy. There's a lot of editing being done during the day or at night. Well, you know, during the day especially, and then at night we are watching movies. And you know, like, I'm a musician, so I'm using amps. Like, we are using a lot of electricity. So I inevitably do see, once we get to the point where I'm not spending my day building and I am spending my day writing music, or you know, inputting more into videos, or writing, doing the things when we get on the road that we need to do to stay afloat, I do imagine that we're not going to have quite the capacity that we're going to need. And so we are going to have to make one of the choices to either upgrade a battery, which is a simple solution that'll just give us more days to get a good day of sun to charge for full, or we upgrade the solar system, the solar panels, and that will allow us to charge to full in those short windows of opportunity. We'll just get more coming in, and it will be more efficient to get the battery to 100%. What will most likely be the option that we take in the short term is to just buy a very small generator that can produce 1500 watts, that when we get into these situations where we need to float the battery or it's overcast for a couple of days, we can spend $1 to $2 of petrol and charge it full. It's not ideal, it doesn't really line up with our morals, but we have to be realistic about how we get to the point where we achieve our goals. So in conclusion, how are we feeling about this solar system? Absolutely stoked. Like, I can't say enough good things. It was a huge boon to our goals to have the opportunity to work with Wise Energy and Craig. They really changed our direction as far as what we were planning on doing. I was doing the research at the time, and we contacted them more for input on whether or not I was making the right decisions, and an opportunity was created, and the experience has been unforgettable and amazing. And if you're looking to do this kind of system, if you're looking to build a van or a bus or a caravan and you're trying to look at systems, I cannot recommend this more. This is involved enough for you to learn and know exactly what's happening with the system, but all of the stress is taken off you. You make the decisions on what components you want to go in there, but at the end of the day, a professional electrician and a team of professional individuals assemble this for you, so you know it's going to work, and you've always got an avenue of support if something does go wrong. Because Electrical systems are complicated, and unless you're really excited and keen to learn and involve yourself and build this system, it's a huge mountain, and there are people out there that love it, that froth it, and they're willing to help, and we've just appreciated our experience with Wise Energy more than anything.